That's how I sit down with Dr. Muhammad Ali Pate, former Minister of State for Health and the governorship candidate of the PRP in Bauchi State. Well, to our major story of the day. The event of last Wednesday, when President Muhammadu Buhari presented the 2019 budget, still leaves some controversies. Some of the actors in the chambers on the day have their views on reasons. Some lawmakers booed or jeered or applauded the president during his presentation of the budget. The budget itself has come under intense scrutiny. Tonight, we shall be taking a further look into the incident, the 2000 and also the 2019 elections. I have joining me a member of the House of Representatives and one of the spokespersons of the PDP's Presidential Campaign Council, Honorable Inena Ukeji. Thank you so much, Honorable, for coming on the program tonight.
Thank you very much, Jim, for having me.
It's interesting, the event of that day. You were there, so the images of you at the chamber on that day. Why were some of your colleagues booing the president?
Well, I could speak for what transpired on that day, and let me say that some of my colleagues, as you say, booed the president, but a lot of people have also said that a lot of other people were cheering the president. When Mr. President walked into the hallowed chambers, and I've watched Mr. President campaign a lot of the time, and I find that Mr. President, as he balls his fist and shoots into the air, there's this frenzied response from his supporters. And Mr. President walked into the National Assembly on that day, the House of Representatives, to present the policy statement of the country for the next year. Mr. President clenched his fist and raised his hand.
Does that make some of you in the PDP uncomfortable?
From that moment, in the eyes of some of my colleagues, he transcended from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the APC flag bearer. And of course, the situation got very heated. Now, let me also say that in a country that is as divided as Nigeria is, the polity is so heated up. We saw the same things happen in 2015. In the same kind of budget cycle, when President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was supposed to come and present his own budget. You would recall that at the time, we had a very active opposition, a very active, almost militant opposition. And they had said that they were not going to allow President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan come into the National Assembly to deliver the budget. Now, what we did in the PDP at the time was engage with the president and say to him that it was a potentially violent environment, that the APC opposition had said that they would do everything to stop him from presenting the budget. Now, what we did was go back into the Constitution and look at the fact that even though it had become customary for Mr. President to deliver the budget, the president was still allowed to delegate his duties. Now, under advisement, the president at the time decided to look for a less contentious character and decided to ask that the Minister of the Economy at the time, Okonjo-Iweala, come before the National Assembly and deliver the budget.
Are you saying that, the president should, because some of your colleagues had said they were going to boycott the presentation of the president. Are you saying the president should have send a representative, maybe the vice president or a minister to represent him? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that there is precedent to better people management. I am saying that when you find that a country is divided, when you find that the political situation is very heated up, when you find that people are going into elections in a very divided environment, I'm saying that we must find ways to de-escalate that violence, because the people at whose pleasure we serve read off of the body language of the people.
But again, sorry if I may butt in, the fact you are looking at the inferences into this situation, but Nigerians are looking at the responsibility of the lawmakers, how they're elected to represent the people, and then they go and boo the #1 citizen. A lot of people say that was the visitor into the National Assembly. Couldn't some of the lawmakers who booed him respect that that man is a visitor and give him that respect by not booing him?
Well, you started out by saying that they were represented, they were elected to represent. Now, the primary job of a legislator is to collate the aggregate opinion of a critical mass of the people at whose pleasure they serve. Now, the Nigerian people, and I asked the question, Mr. President came in and delivered a budget statement. Now, what you saw was spontaneous. Now, how do the Nigerian people say, yes, Mr. President had the right to finish delivering his budget speech, but then the people who also booed had a right to express themselves.
But that was violent.
It wasn't.
That was verbally violent.
Well,
and disrespectful, isn't it? When you are in a civil environment, and these are some of the criticisms coming from the ruling APC, that some of your colleagues who did that were not civil enough. Those are their comments.
But you see, uncivility, and I'm inclined to agree to a certain extent, but the uncivility of my colleagues led to greater uncivility on the part of the APC, that led to even greater uncivility, and then violence, and you saw that there was an APC member who actually started to fight. Now, I'm saying that the right to dissent or to disagree is also in itself a democratic process. Now, you talk about a visitor. I said initially that Mr. President would be accorded all the compliments of the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria transcends to the presidential candidates of the ruling APC, then you would get that from the dissenting crowd. Now, could it have been done in a better way? Probably. But who writes the book on how you disagree with leadership?
Just a moment, Honorable. Could that be described as opposition taking too low?
No, it can be described as the handlers of Mr. President not finding out the polls of the National Assembly and doing what there was precedence and what we did when we were in the PDP. Now, let me make the point that people will feed off the body language of the leadership. When the PDP did it, it was because when the PDP decided that Okonjo-Iweala come and present the budget, it wasn't because the PDP could not have put up that kind of show, some people say, of shame from both sides, but because the PDP was better at managing what it was and better at managing the people and the situation.
Politically speaking, now, Honorable, please. Politically speaking, do you think this is not more of a win for the APC on that day, considering what happened? Because at the end of the day, the president got a speech and stepped out, but the leadership of the National Assembly could not respond to the speech of the president.
No, it was, well, I mean, I don't know by what barometers you're looking at a win or a loss. I think that if you ask me, I think that democracy was deepened. And my takeaway from this issue is that in spite of what the conversations are, I think that every time that the person in leadership is heckled, I think that there's certain situations, there's certain messages that are trying to be passed on. And I think that beyond the dim and the harm of all the noise, I think that people must start to look at the reasons why Nigeria is so polarized, why people are so angry, why the people had thrown, as you put it, caution to the wind, why the normal things, good home bringing and upbringing, that means that when someone comes into your house, you're polite to the person, why they were willing to throw it out, why that is the collation of the aggregate opinion of a critical mass of the Nigerian people. And I hope that it has driven a national discourse about the divisiveness of the Nigerian situation today. I believe that the people, I think, and it happens everywhere in the world, I mean, and it depends on how we want to do it. Do we want to view it as an insult, or do we want to listen to the questions and look at the underlying currents and do something about the underlying currents? Do we want to, in the future,
Honorable,
put a thumb
Sorry if I'm aborting again and I'll pause you for a moment. Apologies, but we need to take this break. I know you're an intense speaker when you're convinced about a matter. A lot of Nigerians may not agree with you on some those points, and it looks so much that your party may be jittery at this point. But we discussed some of those underlying temperature in the National Assembly, outside of the National Assembly.
Words like jittery, I mean, I don't understand. And again,
we need to take a break, Honorable.
We're going to go to the break, but barometer jittery, I don't think so. After the break, we'll continue.
All right, thank you so much. You sound so much like the presenter. We'll take a break. We do hope that we'll be able to get an other side view on this one. But presently, we have Honorable Inena Ukeje in the studio. And when we come back from the break, we continue with the conversation. Join us again.